Before we do get the panel started, I'm just curious within the room, what wallets are you guys using day to day? Like you can just shout out. Phoenix? Yeah. Mutiny? Yeah. Until you get rugged. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Breeze? Sparrow? Yeah. What was that? Nice. Nice. And what's everybody's biggest gripe about the wallet they're currently using?
Shutting down.
Yes. Yeah.
On Sparrow, I think it's the user interface.
Yeah.
It's not sexy, but functional.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, does it even matter? Like, you want a sexy but non-functional wallet, or a functional but non-sexy wallet?
Well, I want to have both. Because
Yeah.
it isn't a deal for it. So, I mean, that part of the user interface can be fixed, where the security part of it is difficult to get. So,
Yeah, but just out of curiosity, do you think the unsexiness is like what's the problem with unsexiness? Just that it's not pleasant to. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean the problem could be you're already using it. Maybe other people that want to use it are scared away by, or they're not attracted to it by the unsexiness or something. That could be seen as a problem, I guess.
I think there's also when he says sexiness, I'm assuming he means a little bit of utility in there too. Because when you make something more sexy, you make a better user experience while you do it. And so you're like making the menus in more convenient places and things like this.
Yeah.
I have a.
but I think that Ben said you didn't mention the word problem.
Yeah. Biggest gripe, just general.
So,
Okay, yeah.
you would have said, what is the biggest problem? I would have shut up.
No, I was just sorry. I didn't.
Yeah, I can see big problems.
I didn't mean to sound aggressive. I was just curious because for me, I'm pretty young, but I don't like modern kind of UIs and stuff. So I prefer the functional Windows 98 kind of thing with buttons and stuff. Now everything is gestures and it's animations that takes a lot of time. I hate that. So
Sparrow would be like that. They would be sexy because it's a retro feeling of it.
okay, okay.
The biggest
So
gripe
not
for everybody is
necessarily-
probably just if they use Lightning. It's probably the biggest gripe.
Well, let's just dive in because Milan doesn't it? Milan doesn't even have
four
a wallet
microphones
anyways. It's a Nostr app with a wallet in the side. So anyway, he'll get here and he'll defend himself. Yeah. So this is the wallets panel. I have tried every possible wallet at some point over the past few years, and we've got a panel of people that are actively have been or are currently involved in wallets. In many different capacities. We've got a wide-ranging spectrum of things being built here. So maybe I'll just toss it down the line really quick, and you can let people know who you are and what you are or were working on. Ben?
Hi, I'm Ben the Carman. I used to work on Mutiny. Now I'm at Taproot Wizards. But yeah.
What was that
Sorry.
last part? Say that louder for everybody in the back.
My name is Alekos. I used to work on BDK, so I can speak a little bit about software on-chain wallets. I founded BDK. I should say more. I always forget to mention that. I originally founded BDK and worked on it for a while. Now I moved into hardware wallets, so I'm working on this thing called Portal. So I can speak a little bit mostly about the on-chain side of things, both on the software side and the hardware side, I guess.
I got the shipping notification
I
for
think,
it the
yeah,
other day.
I remember. I
It's
saw your
on the way.
name. I'm
Yeah.
literally shipping them myself.
Yeah, okay.
Manually. Yeah, so,
Nice.
My name is John. I'm CEO at a company called Synonym. As far as wallets go, we have a wallet product called BitKit, which is a mobile wallet that is self-custodial on-chain Bitcoin and an LDK node inside of the wallet for Lightning.
Awesome. So some of these questions that I'm going to queue up to you guys are quasi selfish or things that I've run into in the context of trying to educate people. and I've had a hell of a time figuring out what do I recommend to a newcomer to Bitcoin. It used to be a little bit of a simpler question to answer. Like you could kind of just, oh, I'll go with this one. But now there's so many different options, but also trade-offs, and you're trying to balance the, let's get somebody transacting and understand how that works, but also you want the person to be as self-sovereign as possible or have a pathway to get there. So how do you guys think about, obviously you have built things that I imagine you would like people to use, but how do you think about what an initial onboarding to somebody's first Bitcoin wallet should be?
We had this discussion a lot with Muni because that was our hope, was like this would be the wallet everyone uses. But like the hard part was like, okay, you want to download the wallet and start using it. Well, you need 100K sats for a channel. Okay, download a wallet and give me $70. It's like a really hard sell to like a newcomer. So that's why we went down the Fediment route of like, okay, now it's just like deposit one sat and it works. It's a different set of trade-offs and stuff like that. So there's, you have to consider that. But that was our hope, was like having that progressive enhancement of you start out with like custodial but very private, and you can move to self-custodial. But I mean, it's a very hard thing to juggle, like putting all that in the same wallet, because then it's like, okay, you can have this nice progression, but now the user has to understand that there's two different balances and what they different represent and all that stuff. So it's hard.
Yeah, I'm also pretty convinced that we need some kind of layered system where you start with something that's super cheap but not maybe super secure, and then you can kind of move on and upgrade your security. And ideally, you should make it as easy as possible to transition into more secure layers, I guess, which usually means going down the layer stack, so starting from layer 2 and then going down to on-chain, for example. But yeah, as he was mentioning, I think I was talking about this with John before. It's very, very hard to make a wallet that does everything properly, which is also why, for example, as a company, we're building an hardware wallet. We're not building the software wallet. We just make the hardware and we let other people figure it out, because it's very complicated. If you just make an on-chain wallet, okay, that's kind of easy, but integrating all of that together, it's a pain in the ass. But yeah, I think it's also the only way to do it, because you cannot onboard easily into Lightning. You can kind of onboard easily in on-chain, but you need a substantial amount to start with.
We have a new entrant into the discussion. John, I'll let you reply first, and then we'll pass it down and do an intro. And
so the question, he was basically generally asking about as he tries to take part in Bitcoin, he makes recommendations to people like what wallet to use, and it's difficult to figure out what to recommend to them. And everybody's just discussing different contexts. So yeah, my answer to the question would be, I would frame it or orient it around solving problems, not getting people to use Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I don't think evangelism is. That's why it becomes hard to figure out how to say things to people, is because the motives aren't honest, it's not on purpose. I think that you want to help. Most Bitcoiners just want to help people, but the actual problem that you're trying to solve for the person that you're recommending to is important. And so if the problem they're trying to solve, for example, is, oh, I'm really poor, but I really need a way to have self-sovereign money, and I can't afford Lightning, and I can't afford big on-chain transactions, well, then you start looking at things like eCash and other custodial solutions. But if my problem is, I don't know, I'm trying to make sure I'm the only one that secures my keys, and so you have to, at least in your case, you're somebody who's expert in all of the products, and you can make a good recommendation, but you have to diagnose the problem first.
yeah, you need to ask more questions of the person before you make any recommendation, I suppose. Yeah. Let's do an intro here. We went down the panel, but we'll add one more. Milan, can you introduce yourself and what you're working on?
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. I was in the wrong room. It felt awfully empty out there. So yeah, I'm the founder of Primal. It's a Nostr client with a built-in custodial wallet. So maybe I'll answer the same question. So yeah, depending on the use case, the recommendations are different, right? Like it's a vastly different situation for a HODL, scenario where people really should be holding their keys, and we should be more kind of strict about those types of things, compared to a casual payments wallet where people seem to be more open to kind of trading some of that self-sovereignty for convenience. If we just look at what actually happened in the marketplace, if we look at the success of, let's say, Wallet of Satoshi, it's a very clear signal that the market is sending us regarding what users value. And then in the context of Nostr, maybe like this is the first kind of deployment of micropayments at scale ever. And these payments are even more casual. They're tiny payments. So obviously the same kind of self-custodial solutions are not necessarily appropriate for, let's say, newcomers, people who just maybe are experiencing Bitcoin for the first time and just want to be able to participate in zapping, like want to be able to receive zaps or send these kind of tiny micropayments.
So I'll queue up a bit more of a general question, but where do you think that across the ecosystem that wallets have done a good job over the years where do you see the most improvement in wallets over the years? Because and this can be very broad given that there's obviously hardware and software and Lightning and on-chain and all of that. But where are we doing a good job versus where are we massively missing right now?
I think we're massively missing in the LSP space. Like, there's basically only Zeus left if you're in the US, and then outside it's like Phoenix and Zeus, and that's it. So, I mean, that's just because it's a hard problem of like, for one, it's regulatorily scary, and then even if you're willing to like take that risk, it's like not very profitable. So you're just like putting up tons of capital to get basically no return, probably losing money. So it's like, what am I taking all this risk on for? So that's just like a hard part of Lightning, and hopefully as we improve Lightning with things like splicing, maybe that gets a lot cheaper. But for now, it's just like you just have to eat that cost. So that makes it really hard for Lightning wallets to exist.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, I should start with a disclaimer, which is I'm not really up to date with the new stuff coming out, so I haven't tried all the latest or the new wallets, so maybe I'm missing out on something. But from my perspective as an engineer, I think Phoenix, to me, looks like the most kind of advanced and well-made wallet, not just because, well, it's reliable, it works, that's probably just due to liquidity, but also they've done, I think, a really good job managing to build a self-custodian node on your phone. So managing all the offline availability issues, so they can like wake up your node remotely when you need to receive an incoming payment and stuff like that, which is not super hard, but also I think they're the only one doing it, as far as I know. And yeah, I think we started with a node you need to run on a Raspberry Pi, to you have a node, same kind of security trade-off because it's still self-custodian, running in background on your smartphone. I think that's a huge kind of improvement over time. So I will mention Phoenix, which unfortunately is not available in the US, but here in Europe at least you can get it.
I mean, you can go, if you have an Android phone, you can go get the APK file. But
I mean, generally, I think it's been organic in that all of the wallet space has been improving in the ways that you would expect and hope it would, where some complexity is being abstracted into better UX, and some of the features that people knew that needed to solve problems for them are starting to be included more often, things like this. So I think just that's how I'd start my answer, is just generally things are improving over time, and it's as simple as that. As far as like what are we doing wrong or something significantly doing right, it's a little harder. It's more subjective. I don't know. I mean, I think he's right that Phoenix has done a great job, but I think it also shows that the only way to do a great job with self-custodial Lightning is if you run the whole stack. Well, maybe not the only way, but the most reliable way, you could say. And that this idea that, there can be wallets that are dependent on outside projects like LDK and LND and things like this, That's obviously much more difficult and risky than how Phoenix approached it. So that would maybe be both a right and wrong within the same answer, maybe. What else are we doing wrong? I'd say there is I don't know that it's right or wrong or that you could avoid it, but there is a little bit too much support for a culture of experimentation within production environments. And so basically people putting Taro or Taproot assets inside of an app in production for users in too early of a state, or LDK in too early of a state. We're very much always trying to cheerlead and support the ideals of Bitcoin through implementing them in products. And that's maybe not always the best approach. Again, problem solving directly is a better approach.
Okay, so I'll cover three things. First of all, I have a lot of respect for all the people who are doing the work to make self-custodial Bitcoin and self-custodial Lightning possible and easy to do. There have been definitely improvements there, and again, going back to Noster, a good chunk of the user base actually is using self-custodial Lightning on Noster, and they're self-sovereign even for these casual payments. Now, these are enthusiasts. These are kind of Bitcoiners who know what's up, but they still, comprise a big part of the network and prove the point that you don't have to be on a custodial system to participate in micropayments. Micropayments themselves, I think we don't acknowledge this enough. This is something that has been, dreamed about for decades. And even since Lightning was launched, it was technically possible, but not really deployed at scale up until recently, up until we started zapping literally millions of transactions back and forth, right? So that's wild. That's something that we didn't have a year ago. So that's interesting. On top of that, in terms of UX, we now have a de facto public Lightning directory. And some wallets have chosen to implement that support for that. And again, these are public Nostr profiles, people who've selected to include their Lightning address as a part of the profile. And as a result, you don't need to be you don't need to be an Nostr client. Any Bitcoin wallet can plug into this. It's open. It's an open network, so you can implement this Venmo type of UX where you can look someone up and send them money. Think about the difference in UX that makes compared to, let's say, if you want to split a dinner bill or something like that, where the guy who paid for dinner usually has to create these Lightning invoices, and so he paid for the dinner and he has to do all the work to get paid back, right? Versus just the mechanics of everyone looks him up. Usually the guy doesn't even want to get paid, so there's the friction there. No, but the other people kind of can look him up and send him money. So that's such a stark contrast to, let's say, Venmo, which also has this feature, as does Cash App or PayPal, but they can't pay each other so easily. And this is an open system that Bitcoiners now have, and Bitcoin products, Bitcoin wallets have at their disposal to be able to interoperate like this. So that's a massive improvement that, again, didn't exist a year ago. I think as more time goes by, I expect that more and more Bitcoin wallets will implement support for this, and maybe those that don't are going to look a little bit outdated, that they don't have this capability, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's early days. And then if we're talking about advances, we have to talk about eCash as well, especially Cashew seems to be kind of taking off. Lots of really interesting things happening there, and again, to kind of tied to Noster, it's sort of with I don't know if anyone here has seen the Nutsec product that Pablo built recently. It's essentially, here we go. It's essentially a Cashew wallet that you have just by the nature of having a Nostr account. If you have a Nostr account, you can receive payments. And you open up this wallet and there's money there already. That kind of happened to me. I didn't even do anything. I, opened up this wallet like maybe a couple of weeks after this system was launched, and there was already money there. People sent me some zaps by like going through my MPUB essentially. So these are kind of massive UX improvements that we've seen in the last 12 months. And I think I'm very, very bullish about where all of that is going.
Yeah, I think the something that comes to mind for me out of that is the interoperability of all these different things that have different backends. I know that everybody has different preferences around trade-offs and what is acceptable to them as an individual for custody or shared custody or like running the whole stack or whatever it may be. But when you can go from I think I did a video on the Fedi app, and I moved from a Fediment to a Cashew wallet to Phoenix to an on-chain wallet to like Aqua, which is using Liquid in the background. But I was able to like chain together all of these transactions that effectively have different backends, and the Lightning Network was just the glue that made it all kind of work together. And that in and of itself, to me, was kind of a cool moment to just witness that. And I think the average person may not understand that, but it's kind of getting to the point where rather than having to say, oh, do you have a Lightning wallet, or oh, do you have an eCash wallet, you just, the person receiving might say something like, oh, how do you want to pay? Like just on the receive screen, or maybe not even, you just scan something and your phone just knows what to do and the other person's phone knows what happens in the background.
Yeah, just wanted to mention, I think this is great that we can do this today. We should not take it for granted, because especially if people start massively using custodian wallets, this could be taken away at some point. Because most of the time, interoperability is not really a tech problem. It's more like a business or regulatory problem. So one example that comes to mind is email, where email is like a federated kind of protocol. So you have email servers that can talk to each other. Over time, people started kind of congregating around Gmail, Outlook, whatever. And now the end result is, if I run my own email server, I cannot send email to Gmail accounts because I'm probably going to be blacklisted, because they only kind of whitelist each other. So it's not a tech problem. It's more that 99.99% of the users are there, and so they just kind of created a closed environment. And this could happen as well with Lightning especially. So I'm all for choice of just pick what suits your needs. If you're fine with the custodian model, if you're fine with the security trade-offs there, use it. I'm not against that. But I think we should be careful regarding that, because if we just end up with 3 big custodian names, then they can just close each other off, and we lose that awesome interoperability that we have today.
Yeah, John, I'd like you to maybe tag in on this, like in terms of,
I was deciding whether I would.
Yeah, but I mean, as I alluded to, everybody has their preferences for trade-offs, and like you kind of have your line. Like, where do you stand in this realm, just to kind of fill people in?
Like on which aspect?
The acceptability of custodial trade-offs or Fediment style onboarding. Like, do you see? Because I know you're obviously, in terms of custody, you think that everybody needs to or should be leaning towards having their own, basically having their own money, not relying on somebody else. So is there a world where any of that still makes sense, even as like an initial onboarding for a few sats of experimentation, or do you think that?
I think there's a context for everything. Like when I heard you describing like how you made that loop between all those technologies, I was like, ugh. Like, yes, it's a fun trick, it's a fun exercise, but what you're demonstrating is a ton of inefficiency in conversion, and something that just wouldn't practically ever happen in the real world at any kind of scale. And so you have all these, where you demonstrated is we have too many systems trying to do similar things. And those systems that means those systems won't always be there in the future, that they will eventually consolidate and compete and they will be the best one, whatever. As far as so yes, it's cool to do that loop, but what you're demonstrating is inefficiencies. Like if you had one thing that did your thing, then you solved the problem with one thing, right?
But then it's one company running the whole thing. So.
Well, then let me segue this. So in the context of Bitcoin, we have a one thing that we don't have to trust companies, right, with on-chain Bitcoin. So in the context of people using Bitcoin, investing in Bitcoin, storing it for a long time, scaling Bitcoin, yeah, you're right. My assessment would be on-chain or nothing, the rest is nonsense. Now, if the context is how do we solve a problem for people to do nano transactions affordably, then I would say no. I don't think we should do self-custodial Bitcoin for that. I don't even think we should use Lightning for that, to be honest.
Yeah. There's something in between, right? There's nano payments, there's on-chain, and there's day-to-day payments, which is
right.
Restaurant
So I would just call that commerce, right? And so what do we do to solve for commerce within the context of Bitcoin or just an open digital economy in general? Well, there's a lot of tension there in the culture of Bitcoin right now. Like you have people that mostly are just saying they want Bitcoin to be digital gold. Like they love all the narratives. They'll support every narrative that is positive for Bitcoin, including currency, but they won't actually support things that contrast with that idea that I need to get rich off of Bitcoin and everybody should buy Bitcoin so they can get rich too. That isn't really that optimizing for that isn't compatible with optimizing for currency. Yeah. And so if you put aside all of the shitty methods that Bcashers had and Roger Ver had and such, there was an underlying moral motive, which was to get as many people as possible to use Bitcoin as often as possible. I think that value in general is where we have to decide to optimize Bitcoin for. Do we want to optimize for digital gold, or do we want to optimize for as many people and as many transactions as possible? Never everybody, never all types. And so that you I think you do need trusted money setups. Again, on a technical level, I wouldn't say to use eCash and this kind of thing. I would do it differently. But I think that you can do any type of trusted money with just a credit system, and you can do any type of not having to trust, or I don't want to say trustless, but trustless money with Bitcoin. And so that's how I would split it. I would say you have Bitcoin, and Bitcoin should be optimized for quantity of users and transactions as much as possible, as much as reasonable, and then you have trust used for anything that is basically too expensive to do on a secure protocol.
Okay, so we are running down on time, but I have one quick final question that maybe I can get a soundbite out of you guys in terms of this. 5 to 10 years from now, if things go the way you as an individual hope they will go for Bitcoin, what does the average person onboarding to Bitcoin onto a wallet for the first time look like for them as a user experience?
In 5 years, we'll have OpCat, so we'll have a bunch of fun stuff. But I hope we have at least some form of covenant so we can have more scalable Lightning wallets, or something that's maybe not a Lightning wallet but interoperates with Lightning that's actually self-custodial. So that'd be my hope, is basically you have something that exists that looks like Mutiny or Phoenix or any of these wallets, but you don't actually have to deal with channel management. It just works, and then the Lightning stuff is handled off the side, and it's far cheaper than what we have today.
I don't have a good answer for that because it's kind of outside of my focus right now, but I'm also for Lightning. I think we can still make Lightning better. We can probably improve Lightning onboarding as well. What John was saying before about what's the problem we're trying to solve, I think it's an interesting point, because it's true that nowadays we have people that just want to use Bitcoin because they get excited. Probably going forward, we're going to have a different problem, which is people want to use Bitcoin because they have a specific need. And so then maybe it's not so much of a problem that they want to be onboarded with $5 because they have a specific need, and so they're fine onboarding with $100 kind of upfront, and so then Lightning just scales for that. So yeah, probably Lightning, I don't know.
I'd probably give a similar answer to my other one. I think that overall everything will have generally improved. There'll be better user experiences. Some complexity will be abstracted away, and there'll be just be better wallets in general. But for something maybe more spicy to say, I would say there's a good chance that in 5 years from now, all of the support and hype for Lightning will have transitioned to something like Arc, and Lightning will fall out of favor as far as like being the thing everybody wants to hype. It doesn't mean it will die necessarily, but there's a good chance that if we don't figure out in the next 5 years how to make Lightning something that is like normie accessible and reliable, that we'll end up in a cycle where every 4 to 8 years, we're coming up with a new way to scam VCs to invest in the new layer, in the new tech that this time will solve scaling. And if we get ourselves in that loop, it's not really going to be very effective.
Yeah. I heard Tron has a hot new layer 2 for Bitcoin, so we could try that.
All right, so considering all the advancements that we mentioned, like in the past 12 months, it seems pretty hard to predict, like 5 years out, 10 years out, almost like a frivolous activity, but fun anyway. And we should try to kind of envision what things would look like many years out. I think that we'll end up onboarding orders of magnitude more people onto Bitcoin through kind of casual means. So with the people that are getting onboarded by just using apps. I think every app will be Bitcoin enabled. As this kind of progresses, this is more maybe on the kind of 10 years out and that type of time frame. And as far as the tech that's likely to be used, I'm kind of bullish on eCash. And I think this doesn't mean that Lightning goes away. On the contrary, Lightning is already an exceptional technology for settlement between custodians, as well as like end user technology. So I find it funny when when there's a narrative that like Lightning is failing or whatever. Like, yeah, Lightning is failing in the sense that everyone's using it all the time, right? So anyway, I'm bullish on eCash for these types of situations.
Cool. All right. Well, that is our time. Thank you guys very much. Let's give them all a big round of applause.